Hi there, I'm Patrick. I run a small business called Charlie's Coffee Co. It's named after my dog Charlie, and obviously we do coffee. But this is my accompanying interview show called Grounds Up, where I sit down with people who I find interesting and I think are doing cool things, and just have a conversation with them over a bunch of coffees that I really enjoy. It's a totally original format, and it won't remind you of any other interview show. Just kidding, of course. But today I'm joined by Janet Garcia, who is a video games journalist who's worked at some of the biggest outlets in the industry, like IGN and Kotaku, before she made the switch to the indie outlets that she works at now, Kinda Funny and MinnMax. She also has her own website called Pen 2 Pixels, where she writes about games big and small. We have a really great conversation. I really enjoyed talking with Janet, and I hope that you guys enjoy listening to our chat. So grab yourself a seat and pour yourself a cup of coffee. And thank you to Janet for being our first ever guest on the show. All right, roll the intro. Janet Garcia, welcome to the show. Before we pour some coffees and ask some questions, give me a rundown of kind of your relationship with coffee.
Yeah, I'm an everyday person. Twice a day ideal. No more than 2 times a day is also ideal.
Okay.
Yeah, I drink coffee every day. I love coffee. I mostly keep things pretty casual at this point. I'll just like knock something into the K-cup machine and call it a day. But I did have my era of we're grinding the beans and then we're putting the beans and the grounds in the machine.
Yeah.
For a while, my boyfriend had the, what would you call it? I guess it's like kind of like drip where you have like the little Chemex and you like pour over. Yeah.
Totally.
I think that's probably my favorite middle ground where it's not as intensive as doing everything yourself, but it just usually tastes a little bit better where it's like that, or like we have a little French press that we'll do the same thing with, and it's like simple to do if you already have the grounds. So
fantastic.
That's probably my route of how I go about my coffee. And, I'll hit up like smaller shops preferred, not above Starbucks, but, it's cool to hit the local scene and see what's up. And I feel like LA has the strongest coffee I've ever had in my life, which is was very exciting when I first visited here. But
the caffeine tolerance has gone up since moving here.
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know, like they do coffee differently here, which I appreciate. But I came up on coffee from a need of caffeine. So like in high school, like I was hitting the Monster energy drinks really hard. And one day I like finally tried out like, a Starbucks Frappuccino, which was like very sweet, but still also kind of bitter because it's still coffee. And then I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. Then I dipped into like coffee with creamer and sugar, and now I just do everything black. Like
amazing.
Everything I drink is just black at this point.
I'll kind of give you a run through of what we're going to do today. So this is our first coffee of the day. This is a El Salvador coffee from a roaster called Oddly Correct. They're based out of Kansas City. Basically, all of these coffees, except for this one, is our own. But they're just all roasters that I've come across over the years as like an enthusiast who I, really enjoy. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and see what you think. So if you want, feel free to like sip as you will. There's no formal tasting here, but just kind of a fun like thing to do while we're chatting. So yeah, any thoughts on this first coffee?
Let me go again. It's rich. It's dark but really palatable. Like it doesn't have almost any like bitterness to it, which is kind of surprising. It's really smooth.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your read on this? What's your vibe here?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's some chocolatey notes, like a little bit of nuttiness. There's actually, if you want to read the bag too, feel free to take a look.
This guy right here, right?
Yeah. So they're kind of just all in order. We'll go from your side to my side, basically.
Okay, so this is the El Salvador one. I don't think there's actually tasting notes on this guy.
Oh, is there not?
Oh, we got a couple. We got a couple.
Okay.
We got crisp, smooth, sweet, tangy.
Ooh, all right.
We don't have like a little like editorialized story, which I was hoping it'd be like from the dawn of man.
Yeah. It's so funny. There's the range. Some of them will just be like chocolate, and then others will be like, yeah, exactly that. It's paragraphs and paragraphs. Cool. So let's jump into some questions. I I have some questions kind of about games media as someone in games media. So the biggest thing that I feel like that I don't understand is I'm kind of always viewing these like big trade shows like E3, RIP, from the television. What do you think is something that somebody like me, who's like just always viewing them from my home, like doesn't see and maybe doesn't experience, both good and bad?
As far as the trade show stuff specifically, I guess the good is how much you get to see that's also like behind closed doors. What's interesting about like the E3, or I guess to a degree now like in the modern era, Summer Game Fest, right, Jeff Keighley's show, is we kind of get to go hands-on with a lot of the stuff that you see from those showcases. Not all, but like a lot. So I guess that's kind of the behind the scenes that you don't end up seeing. And I guess like that process, it varies. Like a preview event is always different depending on what the parameters of the preview are. Like, is this hands-on time? Is it hands-on with a couple of people? Is it like, developer hands-on, so you're hands-off, but you're like asking questions? Are you with a developer? Or are you with like a third-party like PR situation where they're like, well, I know like the base details, but I can't like talk about, the aspects of the actual, design choices and things like that. So I guess it's kind of the behind-the-scenes-y stuff that you don't see. It's a lot of appointments, a lot of like running and like beelining to places, depending on how big the space is. And I guess for the cons, I think it's just a lot of work. Like the days are really long when you do, especially E3. Like now that it's just SGF, it feels much more mild because it's like there's one showcase, you like go and you play the games and the embargo's like either immediately or maybe like a few days later, versus E3 was like, okay, well, especially depending on the kind of work you do, where it's like maybe you're up early to like react to a showcase, and then you're going to go, the developers are going to come by like the studio set or something, and you're going to do like a thing with them, and then you also have like a preview to write, and you want to like get it written as soon as possible because it's like it's just up as soon as you do it, something like that. So a lot of those days can be like 12-hour days, like if you let it kind of be, and it's really easy to like let it balloon like that. I think for SGF it's much more casual because the format isn't as wild, but you still, because people are also in town, you end up like, okay, well, you work all day, and then maybe people are doing in-person podcasts that they don't normally get to do, and then, okay, at night, like, you're going to want to go, like, get drinks downtown and, like, mingle with people, say hi to friends, also make additional connections. So the days end up being still long as well, so it's just a lot of, like, long days. It's a lot of fun, but you are, like, really spent by the end of it.
Yeah, and then you've got travel on either end too.
Yeah. That's what's nice about being here in LA, where it's like, at least I'm already here, but like I remember the summer that just passed for SGF, like my colleagues from Minnesota came by, and we also wanted to do like a vlog of Universal Studios, like the Nintendo area. We did that at the end of the trip, and I've never been so tired at a theme park. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is ride this ride. Like, we like rallied and we did have fun, but it was like, I got no voice left. Haven't slept in days. I haven't seen my family.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole thing.
Shell of a human. Do you have a favorite, and let's say like online and in-person event?
In-person event, I think it's still the Mix. The Mix is like a small indie event. It happens oftentimes coinciding with different bigger conventions. So things like E3, things like SGF, it was supposed to happen, but they didn't have the permits together for it, so I fell through last second. If you go to PAX, like a lot of times there's a Mix event happening during PAX, and what's cool is that it's just a lot smaller developers, and like the price to get in and get to show your game is a lot lower than like at an E3 or an SGF or a PAX. So you get like a really fun mix of games. Like the lines are short. It's, usually they have a press hour, but then it's kind of open to whoever. So it's just like fans of indie games coming around, like talking to devs, and it just feels really casual too, because there's not all like the pomp and circumstance of like, oh, hi, you're so-and-so from this outlet. Okay, well, let's sit down. And nothing's wrong with that, but it's just kind of cool to walk up to like a table and you have like a big range of developers, like some who've made mini games, some who are like, hey, like I made this as like a small student project, and like I'm running it on like my laptop, and like I plugged in a control, it's like really casual and chill, but like those are still really cool too. So I love the energy of those events. It's my favorite in person. Online, probably Steam Next Fest. There's just so many demos. Like I rarely dig into all of it because it's so much content, but like I did a few sessions ago, and I did like an 8-hour stream of like a bunch of games, and you find so much good stuff. So I think that's my favorite online.
That's awesome. I love the deep cuts too. Okay, I'm I'm curious what your driving factors were for leaving a big outlet like IGN. What were some of the things that drove you to go the indie games media route? And what are some of the things that maybe you miss about having like a big studio behind you?
Yeah, I think for like having a big team, the people, the talent. I mean, I still work with really talented people, but like the team I had there was really strong. I think the fun, high levels of production are really cool. And I think too, like when you're at a bigger outlet, like it's just easier to get access to things. So, you know, like you just kind of have, it's rare to like not have access to something, at least as the company. Obviously as like as a individual, like you might not get picked up to do like a certain interview spot or like a review or something, but it's kind of like you're the biggest, so like that's inherently kind of cool and convenient for a lot of things. But I think what I like about the independent stuff is I can just do exactly what I want. The reason I haven't gone to an outlet since then is because I have not seen a role that I feel like that's something I definitely want to do. I think a lot of games media roles, like because they like have, like there's only set roles, right? There's like features editor, news editor, reviews editor, like, you know, guides editor. Like there's different types of editors, but like a lot of those things, maybe like if you're excited to like write or something, it's like, well, you might not be writing that much. You're more like working with writers, or like everything kind of has like additional asterisks to them. It's kind of like, I think a lot of people that get passionate about this industry are like, I love podcasting. And I'm like, cool. Do you like love a lot of other stuff though? Because there's not like podcaster at a big outlet. There's not like you'll have, it's something you do, but like, and maybe it's what you're known for on the internet, but it's not your day-to-day job. So I think I've seen maybe like one day-to-day job that I'm like, I feel like that would be interesting. But other than that, like everything else is like, it has a lot of other stuff tied to it. Well, now like I write the reviews I want, I do podcasts, which I love. So I kind of just get to only do the stuff I want to do, which I like, which I get like at a job. Like it's not always gonna be stuff you want to do because you're part of a team, but like, that's why I like, no. That's why I like not really, like I am part of teams, but I'm like mostly just me. And then that comes with a lot of freedom. So that's nice.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm curious, as somebody who plays games for work, how do you balance like kind of all of these new releases versus like playing something for your own enjoyment? Does those cross over more now that you're kind of independent?
I think they definitely cross over more because I could always decide like I'm not going to play this game. Well, like if I don't know, was doing like a guides assignment, like there's only so many games that you cover for guides, so it's like you might not pick something that you like love because it's like, well, maybe there's not a game out that you're like obsessed with that you'd want to do that content for, but you're like assigned it. Even though they do try to work with like your interests and stuff with that, obviously, like you want people that are excited and experts on it. But I think as far as keeping up with stuff, for me, I do a stream every Friday called Best of Whatever Watch. So like this year it's 2023 Watch, where I play like the latest games and search the greatest games. That's the little tagline. And that's really how I stay current. Like even if I don't end up beating a game, like I stream for like 4 hours and I'll max do 2 games. So it's like, okay, I at least taste test almost everything that comes out within getting to do the stream, because sometimes I have to skip it. But that's how I try to stay current. As far as having fun, I try to pick a game here and there that's just like a for me game, and it might still be like relevant to the industry. Like I don't really hold it one way or the other, but I do try to pick some games where it's like, hey, I'm not streaming this, like, and it's tough because people often like want me to stream it too, and it would be fun, and that's why I like the job. I like sharing the stuff. Like I forgot what game it was. It was probably one of the like Uncharted games that I was playing, and I was doing like a Twitter thread on it, and people were like, oh my god, I'd love to see you stream this, and I'm like, I can't. I gotta have some separation somewhere, and I pick my spots.
Just for me.
Yeah, so I have like, but even the just for me game is like I'll still tweet about it, but it's like I want to be, you know, a couple things that are just stuff that I do outside of content. Like if I want to talk about it at one point, I'm not like not allowing myself to, but I'm not doing it with like coverage in mind, with keeping things up in mind. I'm not making content inherently from it. I'm just sitting alone playing a game.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, how do you feel about review scores?
I am pro review scores still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious because you work at outlets that do and don't have them. So, yeah, do you feel like the review score ever becomes more of the story than the game itself?
I think the review score always becomes more of the story of the game itself.
Yeah.
Review scores are definitely really problematic, I think, for talking about games more, I guess, like, not candidly, but really getting into the details of the games, because people get caught up on, like, well, you said it was this, so, like, that means this, and they kind of just put their own meaning on it. So they're like, oh, well, you said it's like a 7, and like a 7's good, but like it's not that good, so like you really didn't like it. You know, people get hung up on that. But what I like about the review scores is it forces me as a writer to put a game into a bucket, which is inherently limiting, but I like the challenge of like, where does this game land? Let's not leave it up for, okay, it'll be up for debate because people will always debate things, but it's like, for myself, like, I'm going to couch this as good or great or amazing or whatever. And I like putting that label on it. I think it is useful also for consumers to look at, or even just fans. Like, I personally like, I don't mind reading a review that doesn't have a score. Like, I think that's totally fine and fair. But at the same time, I always wonder, it's like, but what is your, like, at the end of the day, like, what's your big picture? What's your one line? And you might have, like, that one line at the end, but, like, it doesn't give as much clarity to me as a score does, even though, like, you can argue the score gives less clarity. It's up for debate. But, like, that's why I still do scores. Like, I have my own outlet and I put scores on it. And I'm like, I just feel like it's nice to put things into, like, quick buckets. And I like the challenge of trying to categorize that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see that being helpful structure-wise, too, for writing or, talking about a game. So.
And it's a lot, too, of, like, I was always trained to, like, do the score last. Like, you go in and sometimes you think, oh, I think I'm going to give it this. But, like, until you write it out, like, you don't really know, like, how you feel about it. And sometimes that, like, changes as you're writing, where it's like, oh, I actually, like, didn't have as many negatives as I thought I did. Or maybe, like, I'm trying to convey this one feeling and I'm not getting at it right, so let me go back and edit. So I kind of like that back and forth process that the review scores provide.
Yeah. Do you have any, like, big swings that where you started the writing the review thinking, oh, it's going to be low or high, and then it kind of swung the other way?
I don't know. I don't know for writing the review. Maybe Dying Light 2 was a contentious game for me because I went into it like, I don't know, it seems okay. Like, I just kind of been playing it to check it out. And then I loved it, and then I, like, really didn't love it. And I'm like, what's going to happen here? So I think that one was, like, a roller coaster of an experience. And I think writing it probably brought out some of those feelings again. But I'm not sure if there's one where, I can't remember at least, where it's like, oh, I was in between these two. And when I wrote it, I found my footing.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Okay, last question before we move on to the next coffee here. What's a piece of work that you're most proud of?
Most proud of is tough. Honestly, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what some pieces I've done recently. Most is tough because that's pretty high. I mean, one that comes to mind that I really like is I did years ago, like, a Last of Us 2 drunk cast with a bunch of my colleagues, and it was like 4 hours. And, like, I really liked that piece because it felt like the epitome of, like, a me piece of content. Like, I did that on my own, like, randomly with, like, no really plans for it. I do want to return to that idea of, like, a spoiler cast that's very, like, casual and long form. But, yeah, I think that was just, like, a really cool moment. So that's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there anything that you're, like, dying to still do in your career that you haven't yet?
So everything.
All of it.
I definitely want to, I think it'd be, I don't necessarily want to do this now, but I think it'd be fun to, also, could I pour the excess of this back in here?
Oh, yeah. Please.
Is that allowed?
No,
okay, cool.
not. I mean, it's just us.
Because or else they're just, right? Like, no one's going to be, I don't know if this is drinking off this empty part.
Yeah, don't feel like you need to drink all of it.
Yeah, I gotta pace myself. But,
yeah, we got a lot to get through.
I definitely want to, I think, have credits in a game at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know to what degree. I think it'd be fun to make a game also at some point. But, like, for, like, content I more do, right? I really want to make a video game podcast version of my semi-abandoned and hiatus, like, game industry guides, where I bring on people, like different panels, to answer common questions, like, from directly experts. So something like how to pitch features, and it's like I have the features editors from, like, some of the biggest outlets and some smaller outlets, and they get together and they say what they look for in pitches, or what they like to see, or what they don't like to see, and it can just be kind of a straight from the horse's mouth kind of advice thing, where, like, I kind of already do that in writing, but I want to do that with, like, more people, more questions, and also learn more about some of the stuff that I don't know as well. Like, I don't really know, like, the PR side of the industry as well. Like, I have PR friends and I learn more as I talk to them, but, a lot of people go into that space as well. So, like, being able to, like, ask those questions of, like, how'd you get, is going to college worth it? We have, like, 3 people that did and 3 people that didn't, and their routes and, like, what years and stuff like that. Like, having real people get to field those questions and, like, write in and talk about it is, like, a show that I've been wanting to do forever, and I just have not decided to make the time for it yet, but hopefully soon.
Okay, so this next coffee comes from a coffee roaster called Devotion. They're based out of New York, and they only roast Colombia coffees, so which is kind of unique. Most roasters will do, like, a broad swath of different regions, and these guys specialize specifically in Colombia, and it's really cool. They do a big variety of coffee within that one kind of niche. So yeah, it's a fun one.
Do we want to drink before the read?
Sure, let's do it. Yeah, have a first taste. Tell me what you think.
It's nice. It's like a little bit fruitier, I think, than the last one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's good.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to ask you some questions specifically on writing for games. As a former teacher, are there any similarities to writing a lesson plan versus writing a games guide?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, it's like a one-to-one. It's crazy how much they're the same. I think that's maybe why I, like, became kind of good at it and, like, feel like I can still, to this day, like, format in my mind, like, what people would be asking or searching for or thinking of. Yeah, like, it is literally a direction set. That is all a guide is. It's a direction set. I mean, you add some extra stuff like tips and tricks and things, but, like, it's a direction set. So you want to make it clear, idiot-proof, and also skimmable. That's the thing. People don't read. Like, even people reading guides who, like, need help, they're like, no one wants... Because usually, too, like, when you're looking at a guide, you want to be in, you want to be out. Like, you probably barely came around here. You're like, I guess I'll look it up. Who has the answer? You're looking for the first thing. And sure, there are people that become fans of, like, certain sites, and maybe they'll always look up a guide in IGN or a guide in Polygon or a YouTuber or whatever. But, yeah, they want to be in, they want to be out. So, like, having a lot of bold text in certain spots, like breaking up the sections in a way that makes sense. Adding also like hint systems to guides was like a really fun thing that we definitely have played around with, like back when we were like, well, back at IGN, like when I was there, especially for like puzzle games, like hardcore puzzle games, like where it's, you might want help, but you might not really want all the help because it's like, that's the point of the game is to solve stuff. So like, unlike, I don't know, you get a puzzle in God of War, you probably aren't playing God of War for the puzzles. Like, you might like the puzzles, but it's not like, I want a puzzle game, I'm going to play God of War Ragnarok, you know? But if you're playing Patrick's Parabox, like, you probably kind of wanted a puzzle game, so maybe, like, a hint could be good, and you can, like, click into the hint before you, like, see the answer. So, yeah, but it's, like, literally a direction set, because every time you'd make, like, a lesson plan, or specifically, like, pieces, like, materials for students, it's about, like, making sure they can get through it easily. Like, sure, you want them to like read it, but like they're not gonna read it, so you can just say, you can just save some time by making it easier. Like, even something as simple as like, if there's a second side, like write in caps, like, there are two sides, bold it, put it again there, and then put an arrow at the bottom. And like, some people will still mess it up, and that's fine, but like, you felt like you did all you could do, you know? And that's kind of what guides writing is like as well.
Totally. No, that's awesome. I was really curious to see if that was the case. So I'm happy to hear that it is. How do you approach talking about a game on a podcast in this format, or like a video podcast, versus writing about one?
Oh yeah, they're like totally different. When you write, it's harder.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a podcaster that would disagree with that. I think writing's way harder than podcasting for a review. They kind of start the same, but they like diverge. So like the way they start the same is I take notes on my phone. Like, I have an iPhone, so I just use the notes app, and I'll like, as I start playing, I'll just have it open and I'll start writing stuff. And like, it kind of gets less detailed as I go on, where I'm like, oh, I don't know, whatever. Like, but I'll like put any thought I have, and they're usually kind of nonsense. Like, sometimes there's something relevant, but like, it's just kind of like, I don't know, stuff like, this part was so dramatic, or oh my god, this happened, oh, this jump feels weird, okay, no, the jump got better, you know, like, it's just like my kind of stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
And I'll take those notes in and like maybe reconsolidate them if I'm doing like a podcast, or maybe I don't, and I just kind of glance at them or put some stuff in bold. And if I'm writing a review, those notes are the first thing I have in the doc that I start writing in. And then I'll do like 25 minutes attempted nonstop writing, and I'll like use that as a base, like a baseboard to like kind of spring off of. That's not what baseboarding is, but whatever, like a springboard, right? And then I'll just like start writing, and then I'll start like molding it. I kind of think of it as like molding clay, the style that I write for my reviews. While like when you're talking on a podcast, you maybe have like your base thoughts, and then you're riffing off of the thoughts of other people. So I do think you kind of get a more holistic understanding in a way, like talking to other people, but like the process of writing is harder. And like sometimes I meet in the middle too, and like I'll do a voice note to myself, like when I'm done playing a game. Sometimes I'm talking to my boyfriend about it, and I'm just like, hey, like, here are my thoughts, and I'll hit record, and then I'll transcribe that note, and then that can also be like a basis for my written review, where it's like I do think talking out stuff or writing out stuff, you start to learn what you actually think about it. Kind of like writing in a diary, right? Like if you're upset and you write in a diary, you might gain clarity on like why you're upset or become less upset by the end. A review is kind of like that, where you're sort of working out your feelings about the game. And by the end, when you're done, you're like, yes, this is how I feel. And if it's not how you feel yet, you're not done writing it.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting because it's funny because I feel like I'll listen to a lot of podcasts and they'll go like you were saying, where they're kind of going back and forth between their opinions on the game. Even like during the podcast, you're like, oh yeah, actually there was a lot of stuff I didn't enjoy. So that's really interesting. Okay, I would love to hear what the most challenging part of writing a game guide is, because that to me feels like such a big, daunting task, especially something like I saw you did The Last of Us 2 game guide for IGN, and like that game took me like way too long to beat.
Yeah, the coins were a lot. Thank God my colleague Brendan Graber, shout out to Brendan Graber, came in and was assigned like to help me. And I was like, you're going to do all the cards and all the coins that I didn't find yet, because I was never going to find them in time. Like I was so relieved. The hardest thing about a guide is how much work it is, just like the hours of work. The work itself, in my opinion, isn't that inherently hard. Like it is definitely a craft. Like not everyone could write a good guide. Like we could do, you know, I don't know, Mario 1-1, right? And like a good guide writer will write a better guide than like someone who doesn't know how to do it. Like that's just fact. So it is a skill. But once you develop that skill, it's just like a marathon. It's like the running itself isn't the hard part. It's how long you're running for. And yeah, that's basically it. It's just like a lot of time. So like with The Last of Us, I probably have like, I don't know, 80 plus hours in The Last of Us. And it's like, that game's not that long. Like, it's like not that long of a game. So, and you know, a lot of that is like the screen is open and I'm writing on the side. But like, those kind of hours speak to how long you spend looking at the game world and thinking about the game world. And I have like parts of that game like tattooed into my mind where it's like, especially too, when you start writing, you like, for me, it's like I start somewhat hyper detailed and then I kind of like ease up a little bit because I'm like, okay, well, this doesn't need to be so specific when I have like a lot left to do. It's like, let's keep it short and sweet. You also don't want to write too much because like you're trying to get people in and out through it clearly, you know. But yeah, it's just a lot of time because like that game's not too, you know, complicated. There's a couple hard things in it, like some of the safe code combos maybe. And again, the collectibles definitely are challenging, which again, shout out to Brendan because I've never been a good collectible person. Despite being guides, like I've just doesn't mean I can just find like I can explain where stuff is, but like finding it's still hard for me at times. But yeah, this is just the hard part. It's just a marathon. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, last question before we jump to the next coffee. When you sit down at a keyboard, do your hands go to typing position or WASD?
Oh, typing position. I don't do a lot of keyboard gaming. Yeah. I'm like a console gamer at heart, so like if I can use a controller on a PC game, like I'm using a controller on a PC game.
This next coffee is our own coffee. So Charlie's Coffee Co., it's named after my dog, Charlie. This is a new coffee, actually, that I just got in. It's a Kenya, and it's triple washed. It's really, really complex. Okay. So let me know what you think. No hard feelings if you don't like it.
I'm a little scared.
There's no pressure.
I did have the thought on my way over here. I'm like, what if this is like a troll show and like all the coffees are really bad and I just have to drink them? Like,
oh my gosh, that would be horrible.
It's good. It's definitely more bitter than the last two, but it's not like bitter in a bad way.
Yeah.
It just kind of has like a bit of a punch to it. It's a little grungy in a way, but there is a little bit of like a sweeter kind of note to it too, but it is like dark.
Yeah. It's this one's a little warmer too, I'm just realizing. So I'm gonna vent these other ones.
But I do think the temps have been really good. I was a little nervous about that because I'm like, I tend to like, you know, I'm like a 4-hour coffee drinker typically.
Same. We need like the ember mug that keeps it warm the whole time.
Yeah, but what about you? Like, what do you like about this one? How'd you end up like developing it and getting to this point with it?
Yeah. It's
what were you trying to like accomplish with it, you know?
Yeah, so my goal, like at least my approach to roasting is I'm similar to probably a lot of people out there, but I'm newer to roasting than a lot of these other people. So my goal is really like to take kind of an approach that you would with wine, where it's like you try to bring out the origins of that individual region. So sometimes it'll be like really earthy, really nutty, like some kind of notes that are like, I guess, like more like Vegemite, Marmite, where it's like some people love it, some people hate it. But I'll like leave it as is versus like try to roast it more to get it to be a little bit more like neutral. So I like when I can taste a big difference in like the different coffees. So that's like ultimately my goal. We'll see if we get there. It's definitely a process. It's like a very tricky thing for, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like you get a new coffee in, and it's kind of like you'll do a similar profile that you would on like a different coffee from Colombia, and it behaves totally different.
Right.
And they almost have like kind of personalities to them, which is interesting. So that's always fun. You kind of get to know a coffee as you roast it more. Okay, so the next set of questions I have is kind of focusing on running, because I know you're a runner. Okay, as a runner myself, new to LA, just moved here like a couple of months ago. Do you have any recommendations for like good running spots?
Yeah, I mean, freaking the Santa Monica beach / pier, that's it. That's like, I feel like that is the pinnacle for like distance, ease, and views.
Yeah.
Like I did, like, what's your running style? Are you track? Are you like cross country? Are you long distance? Are you ultra? Like, what do you get into?
Not ultra.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I just threw it out there because I don't know what I'm working with. Like it could be.
No, I was supposed to run my first marathon last year. I was supposed to do Big Sur, but I got COVID 3 days beforehand.
My God. That's like my biggest fear. I'm
brutal.
so sorry that happened to you. That I can't even imagine. I won't dwell on it too much because I'm sure you've thought about it a lot, but like, I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
Doing all of that work, and that sucks. But
I was super bummed. I was like tracking to be under 4 hours, so I was like, okay, I'm feeling really strong.
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's
feeling
great.
set. And then literally like 4 days before, I was like, I don't feel right.
No, that's the worst.
Yeah,
I hate that.
And sure
But
enough,
yeah, I mean, I think that's like a great spot. I also like for smaller stuff, the Chandler Bike Path up in North Hollywood is really fun. It's it's not that long, but it's cute. It's like a nice path in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And then also like Griffith Park. Griffith Park is incredible. Especially too, like, because I imagine like Big Sur, like that's got to be like a lot of elevation, and like I think Griffith Park might be the best spot with like trails and things. And they do offer like, there's routes you can do around Griffith Park that aren't trail focused too, where you can kind of run on basically the LA River.
Yeah.
And it's pretty flat, and like also again pretty good distance. You can loop around. I mean, you can do, again, you want to be really hardcore, you can like do a run up to like the Hollywood sign, like, or just you can kind of do whatever. But I've ran a lot of my hill work was at Griffith, and even if you don't want to do hill work, again, there's plenty of fairly flat trails like through near where like the zoo is at. Those are probably my top spots.
Okay.
But I mostly did most of my training over here in Santa Monica.
Nice.
I was training with my brother, so he'd like drive us down, and it was interesting, like as you get further and further in, like running basically all of it, like from Long Beach like all the way back and then turning around again. Like it got pretty intense in terms of seeing a lot of stuff, but like it's a great spot to run.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Do you have any like over or underrated spots?
I don't think so. I'm always seeking more because like you know how it is, like you get bored, I think for like underrated, I mean, it is very specific kind of work, but if you're doing like speed workouts, like just finding a good track. There's like a high school that like we'll sometimes hit up, but like that's a little bit tough because it's like it still is a high school, so it's like they have like a practice today, so it's like you can't really but it's also like it's a high school, so it's also like community space too, so you can like there's definitely people that like go and work out there. But a nice track is just so nice for speed work where you're not just like I don't know, running full speed in the regular street.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think I have anything that's overrated yet. I kind of love them all for different reasons, but I'm always looking for more spots. If people have more spots, like let me know, because I get bored after a while, and it's tough because you'll try like a new spot sometimes, and then like you realize that like, oh, I don't really like, you have a harder sense like where's the turn, like that kind of happened with me. I was running near like the North Hollywood train station because there's like a park near there, and there's a couple of trails, and like I ran the trail kind of okay, but like my brother definitely got kind of lost, so then it's like you get turned around, and that's
checking
rough.
your phone the whole time.
Yeah, and you're like, this isn't right. But I tried hitting up the All Trails app to try to find new locations to run. But I think it's definitely tough if you're marathon training like us, where you start getting up in mileage. It's like, well, how many times am I going to go back and forth on this 4 mile path? Like,
Exactly.
But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I have, actually one more question before we get into like rapid fire. What's the better city for running, LA or Chicago?
I think I have to go LA just because of the weather.
Yeah.
So, But I do love the lakefront path. I think that's still probably my favorite place to run in terms of like you get wicked miles. There's mile markers on it.
Yeah.
Like the views are very differentiated. Like that still might be like the best running path I've had. But better place to run, definitely LA. You can run at any point and not be frozen. Like yeah, that's automatic.
I love it. Okay, so we'll do some rapid fire running questions here. Favorite running shoe?
The Brooks Ravena.
Okay, nice. Roads or trails?
Roads.
Morning or evening run?
Morning.
Music or podcast?
Ooh. Oh. I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to go music, because if I could only have one, I would pick music, but I definitely hit the podcast pretty often, too.
Yeah, definitely, especially when you're running so often.
Yeah, I'm like, I just start living with those people. Like, I actually listened to the Giant Bomb. I know it's rapid fire, but real quick. I also listened to the one of the Giant Bombs, like, Game of the Year things when I ran my marathon. Like, I started my marathon with that, and then I went to music. So they like got me through like that first half of the marathon, and I'm like, oh my god, but yeah.
Yeah, whenever there's like a 3-hour podcast, I'm like, honestly, this is excellent.
Yeah, I'm like, this is exactly you're just you and me hanging out on the trail.
Big time. Okay, long run or tempo run?
Long.
Okay, and then stretching before or after a run?
After.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. I'm the same. Incredible.
Or not at all. That's the more often one I do.
More realistic. Yeah.
But if I had to only pick one, I feel like that's the best time to stretch, like a little cool down.
This is the next one is in Ethiopia from a roaster called Brandywine. It's from the Worka region in Ethiopia. This is very, very popular region for coffee. And this roaster is out of Delaware. They're one of my favorites.
I love the design of the bag.
Yeah.
It's like a little like space cat,
moon
cat.
They have a guy, I think his name is Todd something. And he designs all of the bags for their coffee. He does some really cool, like kind of really quirky designs. A lot of cats in their designs.
Like a little pet theme. How long did it take you to come up with this name?
So Charlie is my dog. And so I've been wanting to start a coffee business for a long time. And just like wasn't quite sure what I would name it. I have a whole list of like names for what I had planned to name it, and I got my dog Charlie in the pandemic, and I was like, well, it seems like a really good starting point. So yeah,
this is really good.
Awesome.
It's really sweet.
Yes,
it really is like candy.
Yeah. This region in particular, a lot of Ethiopia coffees are known for kind of having that sweetness, like almost fruity.
Yeah.
And Worka region in particular, this is like some of the best coffee I've had, I think, has come from this area.
Yeah, I like the for the tasting notes, they put cherry preserves, cran, raspberry juice, and they said that's strawberry candy in the red and green foil wrapper, which is so that is so accurate. Like I've never had coffee this sweet, I don't think, before. Like, it really does taste like candy.
Right. You don't need any like sweetener or anything.
No,
to it.
like
it's
I also really like stuff like this because in my coffee knowledge for like tasting notes isn't as sharp as it is for like beer. Mm-hmm. But I love when I can drink something like this or like consume something like this where it totally almost like changes my perspective on what coffees can taste like. And I feel like this is that. And again, there's like plenty of coffees I'm sure that have this kind of sweet profile. But I'm like, oh, I never thought it could like hit in this way, so that's really cool.
Yeah, totally. Well, you're gonna go home with all of these. So
oh my god.
Yeah.
I thought it'd just be like one.
Bags.
Oh, this is awesome.
No, these are all for you.
This is gonna be so fun. Yeah. Oh my god.
You can do like a little tasting at home if you want.
Yeah, I know. I definitely will. My boyfriend drinks coffee as well, so and my brother's a huge coffee fan, so like we'll have to do a whole thing.
Right on. Cool. Okay, so the next section, while we're drinking this coffee, I have a fun game for us to play. Okay. So there's been a bunch of obviously like recent adaptations of kind of the resurgence of like video game movies. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is kind of run through a list of upcoming ones, and without having seen them, obviously, you give a score prediction and use whatever scale you'd like. All right. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll start with movies.
Okay.
Minecraft, the movie.
Oh. I think that'll be like a 6 out of 10.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
Yakuza.
Oh, man, Yakuza is so fun. Honestly, I think it's going to be an 8 out of 10. I think it's going to have like bullet train energy.
Ooh,
where it's
I
like,
love that. Yeah.
It's where it's like, if you're like a little snobby, you're like, this isn't that good. But if you're basic, you're like, this was exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, like a good action thriller. Yeah,
that's
I
what I
love
hope.
that. Death Stranding.
Oh, God. I still haven't finished Death Stranding, but I think 6 out of 10. I think it's going to be mad confusing.
It's going to be like a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, but like without the stuff that I think people like about Christopher Nolan. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. Call of Duty.
Oh. Like a 5 out of 10? Like, I just don't, I don't know. I don't see them going like Saving Private Ryan levels. Maybe they'll surprise me. I don't
Big
know.
Time. Okay, and Portal, the movie.
7 out of 10. I think it'll be like, what's that Steven Spielberg? It's from the book movie that everyone kind of hates, but I was like, it was kind of all right. No, the one Ready Player One, where it's like a lot of people kind of hated it, but like it kind of hit in a way. Like that's gonna be that Portal movie.
Okay,
it's like
cult classic kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like this is a really specific vibe.
Awesome. Okay, we'll move on to TV shows. Horizon.
Oh yeah, I've been thinking about this one for a while. I think 7 out of 10. I think it's gonna squeak by as like fine, you know.
I'm really hoping they have like a good budget for
the
dinosaurs.
The dinosaur. Yeah, I don't know. I have so many. I'm like, Horizon just keeps like not taking L's, but I'm like, I just know this isn't gonna be that good. It's like it's a rough time.
Yeah. Okay, Pokemon, but it's a live action series.
I mean, Detective Pikachu was fun, but he was also kind of scary. I think 8 out of 10. I think low-key it's really fun.
Yeah. Okay, what do you think of the weird, deep Detective Pikachu voice?
Oh, that's Ryan Reynolds. Like that. It's all like.
I thought, isn't there a new game where he's like a deep voice?
Maybe. I mean, they're gonna have another Detective Pikachu game.
Yeah, I think that is the one where he has like a shockingly
he's
deep
like,
voice.
hello. Didn't he always have a deep voice? Maybe he didn't. I didn't play the first. The first one. Also, Detective Pikachu is like very much more of a kid's game. Like it's just a younger demographic. Yeah, they made it work. I have faith.
Yeah.
I have faith.
Right on. Fallout as a TV series.
I think 7 out of 10. I think it'll be fine. I feel like I think the humor could be really fun with like, you know, the tone and everything, but I don't know if it's gonna like wow anybody.
Right. It's not gonna be a Last of Us level like storytelling.
Which that honestly surprises me. I didn't think it'd be as good as it was. Like it was when they had that episode 3. I was like, is this like a really good TV show?
Right.
I was like, what is going on?
I wasn't planning on watching it until I heard just everybody raving about it. I was like, all right, well, I gotta give it a shot now.
Yeah, like that. Like honestly, that episode alone is worth watching. Like the whole series for it.
Totally. I do feel like Fallout maybe will win some costumes, set design stuff. I feel like that's kind of the thing to watch it for, maybe. But okay, God of War as a TV show.
I think 8 out of 10. I also just want to have a wider spread. I feel like it does have a chance to be good because I feel like the mythology aspect, like it's the right kind of nerdy that I think adapts well to TV,
right?
And like books and things. And I do think God of War, like, you know, 2018 and Ragnarok kind of have like an epic feel to them in terms of like the style of writing and like the lore. So yeah, I have hope on that one.
Okay.
I don't know how Kratos is going to look though. I'm kind of concerned about that part, but
yeah, big time. Okay, Mass Effect as a TV series.
Like a 7 out of 10. Like I don't know if that's going to transfer well. I know people love Mass Effect, but like I don't know space and space politics. I feel like that has worked in history, so maybe it'll work again, but
maybe more of like a Star Trek kind
that's
of
what I'm
vibe.
thinking, like a Star Trek, like a, you know, I know there's like a lot of like Expanse fans and stuff, so it's like maybe it'll hit that spot for people.
This next coffee is from a coffee roaster called Proud Mary out of Portland, Oregon.
Also, I'm so awake.
Yay.
At this point.
Amazing. Well, yeah, feel free to drink more or less if you're struggling.
Oh, I like this design too.
Yeah, they have, what I really like about their coffee bags in particular is they do like this like scale of kind of like mild to wild.
Yeah, this is kind of like a very like vaguely like nerd Pokemon gaming vibe. It's like I could have sworn like this at a first glance this skull pineapple tree thing was like the long neck executor, if you remember that guy.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
And they have like kind of like a Godzilla type situation here. Like it's got some funkiness to it.
Yeah, they definitely have, I think, more kind of weird, funky coffees than most roasters, which I really like. I like the kind of weird stuff, even if it's not like a daily drinker.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, as we're kind of sipping on this coffee, feel free to enjoy it at your leisure. I want to focus on some games industry questions.
Okay.
Thoughts on the coffee?
It's good. For a second, it almost like the scent reminds me of jalapenos.
Yeah.
But the taste isn't spicy. Like I thought it would be spicy almost when I started drinking it.
No, it does. It smells just like jalapenos.
Yeah, but it's good.
Awesome. Okay, what are some fan bases that you love to engage with, and then what are some fan bases that you either walk on eggshells or are like straight up afraid to engage with?
Oh man. Oh, honestly, this is gonna again just make people mad. The PSVR 2 community has been hell on earth, and I don't know why y'all are so mad. I mean, I kind of get it. Like, I get what you feel. I have heard you. We have heard you. Yeah, and I think it was just the negative, right? Or was there like a good one for the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which ones do you really enjoy engaging with, and which ones do you struggle with?
For enjoyment, I mean, really, honestly, there's good and all fan bases. I'm trying to think if there's like a favorite. I guess like just to play to my favorite like franchise or whatever. Like Jack and Daxter fans are always fun because it's like obviously it was a huge game and it's like a Naughty Dog game, but it's sort of like a cult favorite. Like it's like a weirdo like favorite platformer. So I feel like there's some fun to be had in that community. But I think for like more modern stuff, God, what's a community that's actually just been good? I'm trying because there's like a lot of the big ones like Pokemon's a mess. Like I don't know. Maybe like the cosplay community, but I don't know. There's like messes everywhere. So like I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, I have great conversations with fans of like all different games, but there's not a certain fan base that stands out as like, well, you know what? Honestly, hot take, my favorite fan base that I've engaged with, at least just like through my Twitch, was when I played Demon Souls. Everyone was really cool. And I know, I'm sure there's a lot of try-hard jerks in the Demon Souls community. Like, I'm sure there are. But for a game that's so, like, get good, everyone was just, like, really nice. I also kind of like the Kingdom Hearts community as well because they love the game. And they love seeing people play the game. And they love, like, getting into it. And they know it really well. So I'd say, like, yeah, favorite communities so far have been Kingdom Hearts and Demon Souls, which are very different games. Least favorite... Pokemon and PSVR 2. I think just for both of those, there's a high passion, and I think that passion turns into like anger really quickly, whether it's anger at the coverage, anger at like the outcome of things. With Pokemon, I feel like it's the classic like you hate your favorite thing. It's like I feel like Pokemon fans kind of hate Pokemon, which all right, I guess. And then PSVR 2, it's been a lot of frustrations of like a lot of people in that community have like really high expertise on the technological aspects of VR. So they're like, I don't get why you can't appreciate that the focal eye range is double glassed. I don't know the technology stuff. And I'm like, look, I hear you. We're software people. I'm a software person. I never said that I'm a tech person. It is an impressive piece of hardware. As a software person, I'm going to not be in love with it if it doesn't have that kind of backing. And there's been a lot of like frustration of that, of like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, so it's been like really like dark in that sense. But like that just kind of is what it is. Like I don't really have like a big problem with it, but it's funny because like anytime we do like PSVR 2 stuff on like PS I Love You, it's like, I know like a lot of y'all are mad, like, and you're still gonna be mad because I still don't like the device. But that is what it is. So yeah, that has been my least favorite for sure in recent history.
That's really funny. I was actually curious because so I kind of just got into the From Software like stuff with Elden Ring. And so I had really not experienced that, but that community is just like so focused on wanting people to experience those games, which I was really shocked by because it's such a dark, you would think it would kind of attract some edgelords, and maybe it does, but the vocal folks I feel like are really inclusive. Yeah,
like it is so cool. I think it's just cool when people, I guess, use that passion to like help people get into stuff and like be excited for other people who are getting into it. That's really cool. Are you gonna play any other like Souls like games or FromSoft games?
I tried getting into Demon Souls when it came out on PS5, but I just like I really struggled with when I hit a wall in that game. What I loved about Elden Ring is like I would hit a wall with something and I could just go do something else.
See, that's so funny because I'm like, I think I'm learning that I'm the opposite of that. Because like with
Really?
Elden Ring, and maybe one day I'll still like get into Elden Ring, but like I tried it, then I like was like, nah, it's not for me. I deleted it, then I re-downloaded it, and then I like played it again, and it's like sitting there like on my dash. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I felt like there's too much freedom for me. I'm like, I need, what I like about Demon Souls is it's like, okay, we're going down a hallway. It's kind of archaic in that sense. It's like, okay, I'm going to hit this guy, and then I'm going to maybe die, but then I'll get my souls back, and then I'll slowly grind, and it's like just slowly chipping away. Like the directions are, well, even though Demon Souls has its own confusing stuff, but it's more clear. It's like, okay, and then you open this door, and it connects the rooms. Like, it is simple, and I'm like, I already have a lot going on with the combat. I cannot handle the vastness of the world. Like, I can barely, like hit someone and then roll away. I like the simplicity of Demon Souls, I think, a little bit more. So we'll see where things go. Lies of P is Soulsborne like.
Have you played that yet?
Yes, and I can say that. I was like, when's the embargo for that? I have played it. Yeah, I have played it. And I'm liking it a lot, actually. I'm a couple hours in. I am scared it will like get too hard for me, but I'm doing it so far, and everyone compares it to Bloodborne, but honestly, it feels like, as a Demon Souls person, I feel at home with it. I was worried when people were comparing it to Bloodborne that it'd be like really fast, but I feel like it's not as slow as Demon Souls, but it's not like crazy fast to me either. So I'm liking it.
Nice, right on. I know you cover a lot of small and indie games. How do you choose which of those games to cover? Because there's just, it feels like an infinite amount. How do you decide which like indie games to pick up?
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep an eye out. I follow a lot of people that also like indie games, so I feel like when I see ones pick up traction, a lot of times I'll like peek over. Sometimes there are ones that catch my eye early, and I start following them from like back in the day, like Mineku's Night Market. I've been following for like my whole life, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's gonna come out one day. And then Ooblets I was following for a long time too. So I do have my ones that I pick and I like roll with. But also my friend and Indie Council colleague, Jill Grote, runs a site called the Indie Informer. So I've started going to her calendar and looking at what games are coming out, and then just looking at the trailers of those games and seeing like what's piquing my interest. And then I add that to my calendar, and then I'll try to like slot those in. And then also just looking at other release calendars too. But I will say, for bigger sites, like they tend to hit only like the bigger indie releases. What I like about Jill's calendaring coverage is she's really going deep into the weeds on like games I've never really heard of.
Yeah.
So and eventually, like I hope to, or not eventually, because I kind of already am that, but by doing stuff like that, I think Steam Next Fest too, it's like pick a couple things to follow, watch out for, put on your calendar, and then just make the time to play it if it looks of interest is kind of how I generally operate. Sometimes recs from people. Nicole Carpenter at Polygon also has an incredible eye for indie games. Rebecca Valentine at IGN is also highlighting them in her column. I think Hidden Treasures is the name of the column. So I think definitely picking a couple people to follow and pick from their stuff, and then also like sourcing a couple stuff on your own and having like that mix, and then you just have to play them from there, which is still really hard to make the time for, but I do my best.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's like my next kind of follow-up question is like, how do you balance the indie coverage and like finding time for indie games with like the treadmill of big new releases, especially this year? It feels like
honestly, I'll probably just add in a new stream. I haven't done it yet. I have cranked up and dialed my stream back depending on my life. So like at one point I think I was doing like 4 streams a week or something, and now I'm down to like 2, which I'm barely getting the 2, so I'm like, this is nice. This is like pretty manageable. I do want to add in another one specifically for indie games, just to kind of like do my homework for my show, the Indie Council, that I'm on. And that's kind of my plan. But I do slot indie games into my best of watch as well, like especially when there's a week that is not as heavy on like the obvious answer of like, oh, if Ragnarok came out or something, I'd probably play that. But also sometimes I play games before they're out, so then I don't usually stream those. Like if I stream them, I'll make my boyfriend play and I'll be on like mic and we'll talk about the game, but I don't feel like starting from the beginning and then kind of, because I feel like I'm pretending to have thoughts almost on it. It's like, so yeah, this is what I thought when I was like, it doesn't feel like as fun to me as like normally when I do that stream, it's me playing it for the first time. So it's like, hey, let's see how this game is, and we're doing it together. I feel like if I already played it, we're not really doing that anymore.
Right.
So then sometimes that opens up slots too, where I can like check out, indie titles there. So if they fit in best of watch, I definitely put them there. If they can't, or like whether or not they can or can't, I probably will try to make a slot that's just like, hey, this is my indie day. And I used to have that back in the day when I used to do like God, I got this. What was it called? It was I think it was itch.io. It was like the bundle for racial justice and equality during a lot of like the push for like the BLM movement.
Yeah.
So I bought that bundle for charity, and then I would do charity streams for like other BLM related organizations while playing through the games. And I played a lot of indies that way. I played A Short Hike that way. I played like Yevoma that way. I played like just like a million other things, and that was really fun. And I'm like, I miss having dedicated indie time. So the TLDR is just stream, because then I'm like, I have to play games because I'm streaming, and like that's kind of how I make myself like make time for games, because otherwise like it's very easy to just do your other work, and then it's late, and then it's like and then so it's nice because it gives me a time, a space, a way to make money from doing it, so it's still kind of like financially beneficial, and then it also has the benefit of like now I can share this with other people, and it's like, okay, we're doing so much good from just streaming it versus not, even though I do want to make time to not stream too, but
Awesome. All right, so with the insane amount of hours that it requires to play or beat some of these like huge games, how do you balance giving a game its fair time, like its fair time to kind of warm up on you, versus like just knowing it's not going to improve and not get any better?
Yeah, it depends on what I want to do with the game. So honestly, a lot of times I just decide like I am going to probably see this through to completion for the sake of like the content and like the review conversations. So like when I sat down to play Starfield, I knew, one, it's a big game, like a highly anticipated game. Two, I actually also just like had COVID not too long ago, like a month ago or something. And as I was getting out of it, this is my second time having it, unfortunately. So the first bit, I'm like really tired and I can't think of anything, and I'm just laying there. Then I end up like awake enough to like I can game, but not enough to really move. And that's like when I had got Starfield, and I'm like, this is perfect because I can't do anything. I'm not working right now because I'm trying to rest, but I can sit here and I can play a long RPG and just like dig into it. So that kind of hit me at a convenient time where I like was able to carve out the time for it. And I'm like, oh, also like it'll be beneficial to see this through if I can. Like I had my dates in mind. I'm like, okay, when's the embargo up? Like how, whatever. So that was like kind of the perfect storm. But I will say I like kind of pick my spots, and it depends on, like there's some games I know I'm going to beat, like Spider-Man 2, when that comes out, like I know I'm going to beat it. I'm on PS I Love You, it just makes sense. Like it wouldn't, and also I like that franchise. Like I can't see a world where I play it and like I hate it so much, so I just delete it.
Yeah.
But other games that are more like, definitely if I don't know if I like it, I'm down to like put it down, like, Elden Ring, where it's not really my taste, so I'm like, I kind of just tried it to try it. If it is my taste, I'll just kind of decide, like, do I want to see it through or not? Like, how much am I liking it? And how valuable do I think seeing it through is? And then also, do I have the time? So I'm sort of considering all those factors and then deciding, hey, do I want to beat this game? Like, I definitely don't only beat games I like. Some people do. I like sometimes seeing it through because you can learn different stuff, or like sometimes things change. Like Dying Light 2, right? Like I love that game. Then I finished it and I was like, the ending is like not great to me.
Yeah.
But also like that cuts both ways, because when I started I was like, I don't know, it doesn't seem that interesting, and then I got really into it. So there's definitely a benefit to seeing it through, but like realistically, like you're not going to have the time to see everything through, and you definitely don't want to see everything through, because I think if you said I'm going to beat every game I try, I think you're going to not want to try as many games, because you're going to be like, I don't want to get locked into to beating this. So
there's so many hours in the day.
Yeah, so it's always like a little bit of a balancing act. I will say, when I pick up a game for my outlet to review, I usually beat those because I want to beat them for the review. Maybe there's been a few times where I started, I'm like, you know what, I don't even want to do it. But like it's very rare, because again, like good, bad, whatever, like I picked it to review it. Like let's see what it's about.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh my God. Sorry.
I know. Well, this is a crammed table, so I apologize. Luckily, no spills so far. That was one thing I was like, oh man, I was really worried I was going to spill something.
Again, this setup is like, I've had every form of setup. This is actually a lot nicer than what I normally have, which is like what was a folding table and is now an IKEA table in my office space, that I'm like, hey, what's up everyone? I'm crawling over cables and things. Like it's a whole mess.
Hey, gets the job done. That's all that matters. All right, what's a hot take that you anticipated getting some blowback for that you didn't? And then what's a take that you didn't anticipate to be a hot take and for it to be blowback, but that you did get?
That's a great question.
I rephrased that very poorly, but
no, I know what you're talking about. It's tough because I feel like I always know when I'm gonna get flack, and that's almost always like it's if
just as a woman in games media.
I think just if you're negative, like I'm really unafraid to be negative, and people really don't like what they perceive as negativity. Like negative criticism is perceived as like mean by a lot of people. So I'm trying to think, is there something, a hot take that I thought like I'd get pushback for that I didn't? Not really. I mean, I guess because to me, some of this, I don't know, it's weird because some of the stuff, it's like, I feel like it's not that hot of a take. So that's why I'm like, I didn't like Pokemon. What was the last one that came on? Not Arceus, the other one. God.
I couldn't tell.
Violet.
Oh,
Scarlet
yeah,
and Violet. Like, I didn't like those games, but I feel like a lot of people didn't. So I don't think that's like, I think me saying like that game doesn't function well is like very not a hot take. And a lot of people are like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think anyone's mad at that.
Yeah. But with the Pokemon crowd, you just never know.
Yeah. So I guess maybe we can throw that out there, but I feel like people are, I guess, yeah, the defenders aren't as strong. So I guess I'm a little surprised that people aren't more mad about that.
Yeah.
Something I got flack for that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in a way the PSVR 2 stuff where it's like, I mean, this isn't, I think we can all agree there aren't like really any games for this, and people are like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. I guess, but even that, I'm never too surprised. I don't know. There's people that get mad at almost everything. The only thing people don't really get mad at is if you like something. I've never really seen people get mad that you like something. It's only if you don't like something. But there's a lot of times I don't like something, and I'm like, it's another bad day online. Yeah, like no one's mad that I like Horizon or something. It's like it's one of my favorite games that definitely has its flaws, but I'm like, I love that game, and no one's like, I hate that. The closest I get is like, oh, like you only like 3 games and like one's Horizon, and it's like, I don't know, like that's not really anything. I guess maybe I'd put that in that category, but yeah, no, I always know, and I can clock it from pretty much a mile away. I'm like, people are gonna be mad, like.
if you don't have positive things to say, it's just gonna be
and the bigger the game, the worse that is. Like people, it's just like that, whether it was Starfield, Uncharted is like my famous one of like, you just want to hate it, and I'm like, I don't know, like I just keep playing them because everyone says the next one's better, and it technically kind of is, but not as much as I hoped. I have Lost Legacy next, so I'm excited to see what happens with that.
Awesome. Okay, so this is our last coffee.
Oh wait, yeah.
This is feel free. I mean, if you
want
more
of
this
I lost track of. I'm just floating through space at this point.
We're just over caffeinated at this point.
These are all mixed up now.
That's all good. This is a coffee from Onyx Coffee Lab. So they're actually based out of Arkansas, strangely enough, but I think they're probably one of the best coffee roasters in the country, if not the world. And this is a Kenya. So let me know what you think.
Yeah, it's good. It kind of reminds me of the first one a little bit. It's like smooth, bold, but not bitter.
Yeah.
I'd say coffees are the only thing that I like. It's very rare for me to have a coffee I don't like. It happens very rarely, so.
Here's the bag too if you want to. It's a box, which is kind of funny. So.
Do you have besides yours, do you have a favorite of the ones we drink?
It's so tough. I get asked when I'm doing like our own coffee stuff, people always ask what your favorite coffee is, and it changes so much. It's almost just like food. It's like, oh, I'm in the mood for pasta today, or like I want Mexican food. So just it changes so much. But I think in terms of what excited me the most, I'm such a sucker for an Ethiopia, especially a Worka that's just like really fruity. It's so bright. But I think like a daily drinking coffee, I really like these two, the El Salvador and the Colombia. And then this one really surprised me. The aroma was like really unique.
I think that might be my favorite just because it was such a weird blend. Like I think the coffee itself is very drinkable, but that weird jalapeno smell was like kind of cool. And then I also give a shout out to this one, like the sweet
Brandy
one.
wine.
Yes. Just because it's so different. I think that's definitely for me, again, in that category of I would not want that every day, but I think it's like such a fun pop to your week at some point.
It's so funny you mentioned jalapeno. There is one that I really tried to find to see if they had available. It's a roaster. They're actually in like Barcelona. But I had their coffee and it was actually kind of spicy. It was really interesting. So I've been looking for like new fun coffees to incorporate, but it's tricky because they're not always in stock. So it kind of depends on timing. But anyway. All right. Last set of questions. So speaking of hot takes, I have a list of kind of like gaming trends.
Okay.
And I just want you to give me your hot takes or opinions on each of them. Also, feel free to if you want sparkling water, that's what this one is.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll go through the list of hot takes. You give me your thoughts on them. All right. VR in general.
It wasn't the future we thought it would be, and I don't know if we're going to see a big breakout. I think VR has struggled to find its footing outside of novelty and shooters. I think there are a few really special examples of things that like pop really nicely in VR. Before Your Eyes is super cool in VR, but you can also play it not in VR. Tetris Effect, but also you can play it not in VR. So I think it's been hard to find a game that uses it really well and truly also justifies its use to the fullest extent. Yeah, but I'm still kind of hopeful. I always thought VR was really interesting, and I've been following it for a long time. So maybe it'll shake things up. I would love to see something that feels fresher, but I think also when you think of games and like the arcade space, like maybe we just need a little more time to get there. But then I don't know if we'll end up getting that time.
Yeah, you think it'll always kind of be a little bit niche?
Yeah, like I just wonder at one point, like, is there a point where we're just going to give up on it? Maybe we're already at that point. I don't really know what the future for that market looks like, but it's not going great, I don't think.
Okay, do you have any thoughts on the metaverse as like a concept, not necessarily like Facebook's metaverse?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get there. It reminds me of like, you know how when we think of the future and everyone's wearing like jumpsuits that match, and it's like, why do we think that's the metaverse feels like that? Where it's, I get the concept where it's like, then we'll be fully online, but I just don't think we're getting there anytime soon. I think it's just like an odd conception. Stuff like that can be fun, like the PlayStation Home stuff or whatever, but yeah, people don't want to put on a headset and go to Zoom. Like, it's like that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, totally. All right, cloud gaming.
I think it's going to get there. I think we've made really good progress on like the connectivity of it. Admittedly, for me, it's been kind of a mixed bag with like some aspects of lag, but I know a lot of people that do cloud gaming. I don't think it can work the way Nintendo's doing it, where they're like, we can't run it, but the cloud can't. Like, no, you guys aren't good online. Like, I don't know. But cloud gaming, yeah, I think it's here to stay, and I think it's a cool companion piece. I'm loving that we're seeing more of like a mobile surge in terms of like on-the-go gaming, even though we're all just gaming from our couch, but like the TV's on. Like, that's all I want to do, right? So we have the Steam Deck, we got the Switch, we got, PlayStation's coming out with their Portal device. I think that's what it's called, PlayStation Portal, something like that. There's like the Backbone for like Xbox's stuff. Like, I like that we're getting options to play on our little screens.
Yeah, totally. Okay, speaking of little screens, mobile gaming, and specifically I'm curious what your thoughts are on Apple. Like, they just announced a new iPhone will play console games.
Gosh, this is tough because I don't know how I feel about that. I think I'm excited about it because it kind of reminds me of like how and I don't remember if it's like phones or just like other handheld devices, but like mobile gaming, like gaming on the go is really popular in places like outside of the US. Like in Japan, like a lot of people are like gaming on their phones or on whatever device. So yeah, I mean, I think that could be a great way to go because kids love gaming on their phone. I don't have any kids and I'm not around kids very often, but one thing I know is like kids go ham on like those iPad games, and sometimes they're playing like regular games on there, like Fortnite or Roblox or whatever. So I feel like this is a natural progression in that sense, because I think I'm so interested to see like how the space changes in the next like 20-30 years, because I think the people that are going to grow up and become me now are going to be like, yeah, I would play like so many, like I think they are phone gamers. So I feel like it'll be cool to bring more traditional experiences to that platform. And then like Apple Arcade's great. Like I like what Apple's doing in the gaming space a lot.
Speaking of Apple, do you have thoughts on their AR headset?
Oh yeah, it's so expensive. It's insane. Because how much is it again? Do you remember?
It's like $3,000 something.
Yeah, like it's just, I mean, it is a really cool idea, and I would love to try one out and like have access to one. There's not a universe that I'm going to buy one at all. There's barely maybe a universe where my partner might maybe consider getting one. Like again, at that number, because at first like we went into it, he's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna get this. Like I don't mind like dropping a lot of coin on Apple, and then it's like like it was so much money. Yeah. So, looking forward to the third model that maybe will be $1,000. And maybe he'll get that, and then I'll use that. But again, it is a high-end hobbyist device. And we'll see if they ever kind of bring the price point down to a more like general accessible thing, because $1,000 is a lot of money, but also my phone is like I think like around that price. So
right.
It's not inconceivable. My MacBook, same deal. So yeah, I hope that down the line they make a more general consumer version of the product.
Yeah. How about the long rumored Switch 2 or whatever they call it?
I'm tired. That's my hot take. I've rescinded myself from Switch 2. I mean, we still talk about Switch 2 all the time, like on podcasts I'm on, and that's fine. But I'm like, look, I'm not going to give you any, I'll give you predictions for like what I think, what I want to see and stuff like that. But I'm like, I'm done. After the like 80th rumor of the Switch Pro or the Switch 2, I had to just like rescind for my own mental health. I'm like, I'm not even going to deal with this. You tell me when they're going to tell me about it, and then we'll talk. So I'm exhausted by that, but I can't wait for it to happen so it's over.
Yeah.
So that we can just remove it as a topic of conversation because it's been going for so long.
Totally. How about the Steam Deck?
I love my Steam Deck. I became a Steam Deck supporter. Yeah, it's awesome. It's like very much a luxe product. It very much is like, do you need another gaming thing when you haven't played any of your games? Probably not. I was able to get one from work. Like my boss had sent me one as like great work lately. Like you said you wanted one of these. Here you go. And I'm like, oh my God, great, because I don't want to buy it because it's expensive. Yeah. So it is an expensive product. It is really big. I have really small hands. So it's heavy. But the buttons feel very luxurious, and it's just cool having access to so many games like easily and casually because I'm not really a PC gamer, but I do love a handheld. So I've liked just getting to... It's definitely been replacing the Switch for me, where I'm looking at a lot of codes and I'm like, you know what, can I get the PC key instead of Switch?
Yeah.
Because I want that Steam Deck option.
Totally. Okay, this is more for myself, but as someone who just bought a PC for games, do you have any hot takes on PC games?
On PC gaming?
Yeah, just or PCs in general.
It's not really a hot take, but like, I don't know, like get what you need and get as into it as you want to get into it. I think it's really cool that there's like a lot to dig into, but it is like very expensive Lego, which is why I don't dabble with it because I'm like, I don't want to like open stuff up and like go inside of it. Like that's stressful to me.
Yeah.
So I would just buy it. I like rock a pre-build. Sometimes I'll have like my boyfriend like upgrade whatever part to it. But yeah, I think if you can afford it, get something powerful enough to run sort of everything. And then, get as into it as you want to get into it. There's a big community for it. There's like people that have the weirdo, like long, wide, curved monitors. And I'm like, it looks cool, but I'm like, is that good to look at? I feel like it wouldn't be, but yeah, I mean, I'm not really a PC gamer, but I do have a lot of fun on my PC with like, that's how I stream. That's how I like do stuff. So like figure out what you want to do with it and then like lean into that, I guess. So it's more of a wholesome take than a hot take, but it's like, yeah, I'm not really a fan, but like I also use my PC a lot for doing my job, so it's like, hey, it gets the job done.
Yeah, totally. Okay, last one, artificial intelligence.
I guess like it's always existed for a long time. I think in our modern era of like what we think of when we think of AI, like ChatGPT and stuff, it's not the same as like a writer and a person is the big thing, which is not really a hot take. Like that's pretty popular among writers. But as someone that's like looked at what it can generate, it's not like that much, like I think it's going to be really useful for some things, just like any tools we have, right? Like a calculator is really good for doing like simplistic calculations and making that easier. But like, I don't think, now we don't have to like write our essays because I could have a robot do it or a review. Like I've dabbled in what those things can produce and it's not really much in that regard, but it could be good with like other things or like helping you with like a brainstorming board or something for something very simplistic and generic. But yeah, I definitely hate that we've already seen a lot of outlets cut staff to like replace them with like AI stuff, and I don't think it's gonna go well, and I'm hoping that enough of that will happen where we just like give up on that idea because it's a bad and dumb idea.
Totally. All right, last question we ask all of our guests. Sure. Janet Garcia, what makes you feel most alive?
Oh man, I should have an answer to this because I'm always joking. I make a lot of sitcom references, and there's a scene in How I Met Your Mother with Robin's ex-boyfriend where he's like, because he's like super washed and he's like performing at a concert or something, and he's like, why can't I always feel this alive? And I say that line all the time, and I'm trying to think, what things do I say it for? I don't know. A lot of stuff. Like, I guess the stuff that I'm passionate about, but also like just having like a good time. Like, I don't know, I go for a run and I'm like really relaxed afterwards, or like I don't know, like I went to like Universal with my brother as like press, and we did like the Last of Us stuff, and we had like our little express pass, and I'm like, that was definitely like a why can't I always feel this alive kind of moment. So I guess just the things that bring me little but distinct surges of joy are the things that make me feel most alive, that I get most excited about.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What would you like to plug?
You can follow me everywhere across social media, even the ones that haven't existed yet, under the handle Game Onysus. That's Game Onysus. And I'm on a lot of stuff. I have my own Twitch channel. I have my own YouTube channel. I have my outlet Pen2Pixels. I am on MinnMax. I'm on Kinda Funny. I'm on the Indie Council. I'm kind of everywhere. So yeah, come through on whatever kind of content speaks to you. I do a lot of it, so you can probably find something that I think you'd get some benefits or some intrigue or some enjoyment out of. So check it out if you're inclined to do so. And yeah, that's my plug.
Amazing. Thank you again. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool.
Yay!
How was that?
It was great.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was super chill. It's weird having the headphones off now.
Yeah. This room is so quiet.
Yeah, no, it was really fun. Like, the time flew by. Like, I don't get to do a lot of in-person stuff, so, like, this was cool. And, like, yeah, the coffees were great. And,
Right on.
yeah, it was fun.